So we're on to episode 12 of Shaymen Legends, and we have brought on another legend, someone who played for the traditional club and had a very successful career with Halifax. He didn't only captain Halifax, he spent over a decade with the club. So we've brought on Peter Stoneman, or as a lot of the fans like to call him, Stoney. So Stoney, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Luke, how are you?
I'm doing well. So what are you up to nowadays then?
Unfortunately, at the minute, nothing football-wise. I've got a job, which means I've got to work every other weekend. So I kind of dedicate myself to a football team at present. I work in a prison as a prison officer, so it's a bit of a hectic job.
So obviously, when you were at Halifax, what were you like? Were you full time when you were at Halifax?
Yeah. Well, when I first joined in 1995, there was only a handful of us that were full time. Myself and maybe 3 or 4 others. And we used to train with the youth team, and the rest of the team were made up from part-time players who used to come and train on a Tuesday and a Thursday night.
Yeah. So obviously different times to what we're in now, and obviously how it progressed. Obviously there were a lot of financial troubles at the club, probably through the whole of your Halifax career. But firstly, what did attract you to join the club in the first place? Because I'm guessing we're in obviously non-league, and it's not the best position we wanted to be in at the time. Obviously, we've previously been in the Football League for God knows how many years, probably since the club first got established. What was it like then, obviously, being in that situation? Obviously, we'll talk a bit about that 98 season, but what firstly attracted you to join Halifax?
Well, I'd been at Blackpool for 6 years, and I got released. It was actually Sam Allardyce released me from Blackpool, and I went to Colchester United on loan. But my wife was heavily pregnant at the time as well, so that wasn't an ideal move for us. I came back, and John Bird was the manager of Halifax at the time. He rang me close season. John invited me to go, so he'd watched us play a few times, invited me, wanted me to sign. So I met up with John, and at the time there wasn't a million offers on the table for us, so I thought, I'll give it a go. It wasn't a million miles away from home. So after following a phone call from John, I thought, why not? I'm pleased I did.
Why do you think it was then you had such a successful spell at Halifax? Obviously, in my opinion, it's probably the club that you probably enjoyed the most. Am I right in saying that?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. From the first time I walked through the gates at the Shea, I thoroughly enjoyed my time there. I've seen a lot of changes throughout my 10 years there. I mean, there was only the 2 stands when I first joined, and behind both goals were just embankments. So it's nice to see where the club is now, especially ground wise. It's obviously a ground a lot of conference clubs could only dream of at the minute. So I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed it from start to finish.
Yeah, obviously, when you think of it now, we have 4 quite big stands. Football league. It's a football league stadium, really. But think of it, back then, they were the Skirkett stand that we have to this day, and that's where all the supporters went. What was it like then, compared to what it is like now?
It was strange, really, because a lot of the fans were in the main stand, as it was then, and like I say, there was only the odd few standing behind the goals. So it was. I mean, it was hard. Attendances weren't fantastic, but the fans who were coming were loyal, and they came week in, week out. And the early season or 2 I was there, they didn't have much. We didn't give them much to cheer for, really. So it must have been hard on them as it was on us. But we were just obviously finding with feet. A new team thrown together by John Bird, and obviously 2 or 3 seasons later, that's when the success came.
Yeah, that 98 season. What a successful season it was, obviously, with the likes of Jeff Horsfield, Jamie Patterson, yourself. It was a quality team, wasn't it? But what was it that really made the team click and have that drive and motivation to do so well? Because, to be honest, no one expected Halifax at the time to, go out and just destroy the league, to be totally honest. We battered, we were top of the league by a country mile, and there were so many great, games during that season. Why was it then that Halifax did so well that season? Obviously, one of the lowest budgets as well in the division.
Yeah, I think obviously the season before that we just pretty much just stayed in the conference. The season before that we was very close to getting relegated, so nobody fancied us. But from pre-season, George obviously George and Kieran, the management team, got together a group of lads, and you could tell pre-season that it was something special could have been on the horizon. And I think what favoured us as well was we were a small squad. There was maybe 16 or 17 of us, which we did well for injuries, suspensions. We stuck together. Like I say, there was only 16, 17 of us in the squad. And it was more like a big family, to be honest with you. And it's the best season I had throughout my career by a country mile.
Obviously, what was it like then? Obviously, when we got promoted that season, they were very great memories, weren't they? But what was it like? Obviously, when we got promoted, being back in the EFL, what was it like for you personally?
Oh, it was excellent. I mean, when I got released from Blackpool, my aim was to get back in the Football League as soon as possible. Took 2 or 3 seasons, but got back there, and I'm pleased I got back there with Halifax. But I mean, that season was unreal, and I was gutted because the last game of the season was our home game. There was 6,000 or 7,000 there, and unfortunately I was suspended for that game, so I missed out on all the celebrations. But I was there with my suit on, but I would have loved to have been on the field that day because I played the majority of the season. Only missed a handful of games through suspensions, obviously.
Oh yeah, I have been told by a lot of fans that you did put 110% in. You were known for giving a lot of bookings away, a lot of challenges that needed to be done anyway. Obviously tackling in situations where you just need to take your man down. Was that what you thought then? Obviously, when you went into a challenge, sometimes it was just about getting them off the ball.
Well, oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I would stick my foot in, stick my head in anywhere. It didn't faze me. That was my game. I did like to think I thought I could play a little bit of football as well, but I week in, week out, I would roll my sleeves in, like I say, get stuck in, and if there was a challenge there to win, whether it be 60-40 against, I would still go and make the challenge. But that team we had a few players like that. There was myself, obviously Kevin Hume, Brian Kilcline, who came in after Peter Jackson left. Quite happy to stick the foot in, but then once you win the ball, you've got the likes of Jamie Patterson, Jess Horsfield, John Brown, Kieran O'Regan, who you can pass the ball to. They'll do the bit with the ball. We do the hard, nasty stuff off it to give them the ball.
It's good to have that grit in the team and the spine, because it all has to start with the defence, and I think it was about that in the 98 season. What was it like then partnering with Peter Jackson only for quite a short period? What was that like? Because he was such a high-profile centre-half when he'd previously been at Huddersfield, at Newcastle. What was that like for you personally?
It was excellent. I mean, Peter Jackson obviously played for Newcastle, the team I've followed ever since being a young lad. So I support Newcastle United, and it was a bit overwhelming really at the start. But once pre-season got out of the way, I got on well with Jacko, and we formed a good partnership. It was, like I say, it was a bit surreal at times, realising who I was playing alongside. But I thought he brought the game on quite a bit as well, playing alongside Peter.
What was it like then? Obviously, he ended up leaving to take the Huddersfield Town job. For you personally, was that a bit of a blow, or did you feel confident with the new centre-half who came in?
It was a blow because we formed a good partnership. It was myself and Jack. Jamie Murphy usually played 3 at the back. So yeah, it was gut wrenching really. But when George had the connections and said he was bringing Brian Kilcline in, another ex-Newcastle United player, that was like a dream come true for me. One Newcastle United player leaving and another one coming in, so it was ideal for me. And Killer, everyone knows what Killer was like. No messing around centre half. He did a great job for us.
He's a legend like yourself in Halifax Town history. Obviously, we were only getting like 1,000 fans a match at the start of the season. But then as the season progressed and the fans sort of realised, hang on, we might actually win the league this season, we were taking a lot of fans away. Obviously, that Kidderminster game when we obviously won the league, I think we won 2-0 that game. I think Jamie Patterson scored. What was that like? I've looked at a few of the videos, and it were a great day out for the Halifax fans.
It was excellent. I mean, Halifax, the fans outnumbered the Kidderminster fans quite comfortably. It was like a home game for us. The expectations were high. And like you mentioned earlier on there, the crowds at the start of the season were relatively low, but I think word of mouth got around town that there was something special happening at the Shay. So the crowd started to come, and come the Kidderminster game, the following there was unreal. I think they knew what was coming. I mean, that season we only lost a handful of games, and if you look at the stats, the games were lost that season was towards the back end of the season when we took the foot off the gas. The league was already won. So I mean, I've never had a season like it before in my career, and it's one that's going to stay with us. And that Kidderminster game will stay with us for the rest of my days.
A great game. Obviously, Halifax were there on Sunday, and unfortunately, we did get knocked out of the FA Cup against them. So I don't have as many fond memories of probably what you have there. But how many did actually go to Kidderminster? Do you know?
Say again, sorry, Luke.
How many went to Kidderminster?
Oh, there was thousands. I mean, there was Halifax fans in the main stand. Behind the goal was full out. I wouldn't like to say there must have been 3,000 there.
Yeah. Right, moving on then. How do you describe your relationship with the Halifax Town fans?
I've always had a good relationship with the Halifax Town fans from day one. I think they realise that I wear my heart on my sleeve, and when I cross the white line on the football pitch, I'll give nothing but my all. And I think they appreciated that. So I had a good relationship with the fans. Yeah, I was quite happy to speak to them as and when. Haven't been back I usually go back every year or two just to visit some of the sites in Halifax, but I've actually not been back to a game yet. But that's gonna happen soon, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully, and hopefully it will be a game where we could. Hopefully, we will be in the Football League next season. But moving on then, what? Yeah, it would be excellent. But what was it like working with the youth academy? Because I did hear that you were working with the youth academy.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I'd done my cruciate at Hereford. I forget what season it was now, and the rehabilitation was a long process. Yeah. And actually, the first game back, they arranged behind closed doors friendly at Doncaster for me, and I did it again. So Chris Wilder was the manager then, and Chris Wilder offered me the youth team job, along with playing also. But I realised at that time, after having 2 cruciate injuries, I wasn't going to be playing as much football as I'd like to. So it worked out well for me. I was around the place pretty much 24/7, coaching the young kids, and obviously playing as and when needed for Chris. So and it was nice working alongside Chris Wilder and Sean McCauley and obviously Lee Butler as well. So that was a good experience for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, obviously some great names there. Chris Wilder's gone on to manage Sheffield United. And it is going really well for him as well. Next, financially, we did have a lot of troubles, didn't we, in the 10 years you went? But if it weren't for the financial troubles, I think you would have spent the entire career at Halifax.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I had the 10 years then. Obviously, things didn't go too well financially towards the end. But yeah, I guess so. It's a shame what did happen, to be honest with you. But I guess that's football, and it happens. And unfortunately, it happened to Halifax. But yeah, if financially, if it would have been sustainable, I would have loved to have seen. And well, I did see my full-time career out there, because once I finished at Halifax, that was me done professionally. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So.
I think you would have moved on a bit. Do you reckon you would have moved on? Do you reckon you would have obviously stayed at Halifax then if it weren't for? Do you reckon you would have carried on as a footballer still?
Yeah, I mean, I was still 30. I think I was 34 when I left Halifax, so I didn't have a lot left in the tank anyway. But it would have been nice to have another season or two. My testimonial season I really enjoyed, and big thank you to the late Jack Hamer and Andrew Pinfield for sorting that out. I mean, they did a lot of work behind the scenes for that testimonial season of mine, and the fans that turned out on the day. I mean, I'm thankful for that as well. So.
What were those final months then like during the financial period that we were having? Obviously, a lot of negatives in them. Could you tell that the club were about to go under? And I think we did actually stay up, didn't we, the season that we went under? Yeah,
I think we did. Yeah, it was a long time ago. I mean, I was the sort of player, like a lot of other players. I just like to keep my head down and just concentrate on my football and. Nothing else. So I try to put the financial things on the back burner and not worry about them. Just concentrate on my football. But unfortunately, it came to what it did in the end, and it was unfortunate for everyone.
Now, we've spoke to a lot of people who who played during the period when you were playing was Mick Rathbone, Peter Jackson, Danny Forrest, gone on a lot about the financial troubles we had. And there were a lot of key decisions that had to be made. Did you ever get involved in any of them key decisions, or did you just stay till like on the pitch?
No, just on the pitch. Anything off the pitch had nothing to do with me or any of the other players. So, I mean, if we could have helped, we would have helped. But it was sort of taken. Unfortunately, it was taken out of our hands. There was nothing we could do, unfortunately.
Finally, before we move on to some different type of questions, what was it like to captain the side at Halifax? Was it a privilege for you?
Oh, without a doubt. I captained the side on numerous occasions. And it was nice wearing that armband, leading the team out at the Shay. Something I really enjoyed. It was, like I say, I felt proud, privileged, honoured to lead the lads out at the Shay.
So we move on now. There's like 10 quick fire questions, and you've got to try and answer them best you can. The first one is, what is your pre-match meal?
Pre-match meal. Well, when I was at Blackpool, it used to be boiled chicken and beans. We used to have. And at Halifax, there used to be you'll not know this, there used to be a bar underneath the stand called the Weavers. And we used to go to the Weavers and we used to have beans on toast or scrambled egg on toast before a game.
We now have the South Stand bar and the East Stand bar. Did we have 2 bars back then, or was it only the one?
Just the one, just the Weavers, I believe.
Moving on then, what song gets you buzzed up for a game? So if there was a song that you'd like to hear to get you in the zone for a game, what would it be?
Oh, crikey. I'm not a massive one for music. I don't know. I mean, I quite like Queen. Bit of Queen maybe to get us going,
Did you, obviously when we won the league, did you hear the song that We Are the Champions?
Yes, that was good,
I bet that were good to hear for you. So what was your football idol as a child?
I used to like Brian Robson from Man United. I like watching him play. He was a proper leader, and I used to like watching him on the pitch. Really good box-to-box midfielder.
Any regrets in football?
Not really. I did all I could when I was playing. I never shied out of anything. Would have been nice to have got a move to a big club, but obviously never happened. So no, listen, I've had a good career. I've enjoyed it. I only played for 3 clubs, if you like: Blackpool, Colchester, and Halifax. So I'd like to think I was a loyal player to those clubs. So no, I no regrets at all.
What would you have been if you weren't a footballer at that time?
Oh, honestly, I do not know. I don't know where I was heading towards. I mean, I did 1 year's YTS at Blackpool. Before that, I'd stayed on at school. I hadn't decided what I wanted to do, so I was like at sixth form for a year. And luckily, I got a break to go to Blackpool on trial, and they took us. So if I hadn't been a footballer, then I'm not sure what I would have been.
Did you know, like, when you were growing up, that you were someone that had that capability to become a footballer? Did you have something to fall back on? So if you knew you weren't going to make it as a footballer?
I had nothing to fall back on, really. No, I mean, I always knew I had a chance. I went to trials all over the place. I played for quite a well-known team in the northeast called Crabbington Juniors. I played for them, and there's lots of scouts watching them games all the time. So I went the length and breadth of the country on trial, and I was pretty confident somebody would take a punt on us.
Moving on then. Best goal you've ever scored? It can be in your entire career or at Halifax. The
best goal I've ever scored, without a doubt, it'll be there'll be a lot of supporters who'll remember it at Halifax this year. We played Macclesfield. I think Macclesfield were either reigning champions of the conference or they got promoted that season. I'm a bit unsure, but we beat them 1-0 at home and I scored a 25-yarder. And we beat them 1-0, so that was definitely the best goal of my career.
Best player you've ever came across or played with?
I've played against some really, really good players, mostly when I was younger. I played against Ryan Giggs at Old Trafford in the Youth Cup. Played against Robbie Fowler, Peter Beardsley. Played against a lot of really top players. Players I've played with. Played with Trevor Sinclair when I was at Blackpool. Still keep in touch with Trevor. After Halifax, played alongside, like I say, Brian Kilclyde, Peter Jackson, who we've mentioned before, Jeff Horsfield, Chris Wilder. I've played with hundreds of players at Halifax. But yeah, I think it would be wrong to name anybody apart from somebody from the conference winning season. So I've got to say Jamie Patterson, Jeff Horsfield, without a doubt.
That was a key partnership on it going forward, them two up front. What was it like playing with them two then?
It was excellent. I mean, they both brought their own game, and Jeff was unreal. He was as strong as an ox. Had a good first touch, and as soon as he's seen a sighted goal, 9 times out of 10, the back of the net's going to be rippling. And Jamie had a little bit of magic. It was that left foot of his. He could open up defences with one pass. Really, really good player. But we also had 2 wing backs, Andy Thackeray and Mark Bradshaw. You could guarantee if Mark Bradshaw crossed the ball from the left wing, 9 times out of 10 again, Andy Thackeray would be at the back post, sticking it in, and vice versa. So what a really, really, really good season and a good side.
Obviously, you just mentioned Trevor Sinclair there. Isn't he on TalkSport nowadays?
He is on TalkSport. I think his job might be under threat by yourself, look. He's on TalkSport now. Yeah, doing well. He's on there all the time.
Out of him, Simon Jordan, Jim White, and Trevor Sinclair, he does probably talk the most sense. I think a lot of people will strongly disagree with that. I would say so. Definitely,
yes.
What was your best away day with Town then? Obviously, they were one that you were looking forward to.
I'm not sure really. I quite like the bus trips. You know, the camaraderie with the lads going to stayovers in London and things like that. Stevenage, Borough, places like that. I mean, I got sent off at Stevenage one season. We got beat 6-0, and I don't think anyone's sport was on the way back on the bus because it was my fault. I shouldn't have done what I did. It was like early on, 10 minutes into the game, and we've had a long Friday night stay over, and all the preparations gone out the window because of a silly mistake by myself. But I did like the camaraderie and the overnight stays and the bonding with the lads. Yeah.
Me and my dad went to Gillingham, for example, quite a few years ago now, and we were basically deciding if we were going to stay up or we got relegated. And Gillingham looked like they were going down. I think they had to win both games to stay up, and Halifax, all they needed was a win out of the final 2 games, and they went down. And they don't usually do long journeys like that on the supporters coach, and they ended up losing. So I don't think that's a fond memory. And apparently it was a double decker as well.
Oh dear!
So it did take quite a while to get home.
Oh,
there's a few questions from the fans now. Out of all 10 seasons at Halifax, which was your favourite?
It's got to be the conference winning season.
Yeah.
I know. I think if you ask probably every player who played in that team that season, they'll probably answer with the same answer I've just given you. The conference winning season has to be just full of highs and no negatives whatsoever. It was just spot on from start to finish. The management, the staff, the players, the supporters, everyone knitted together, pulled together, and like I say, the season before we nearly got relegated, so nobody fancied. We had nothing to lose, and it was excellent.
The next one is, who was your best mate at Halifax?
My best mate, wow. Well, it was Jamie Murphy. I played with Jamie Murphy at Blackpool as well, and when I went to Halifax, he followed a few years later. So I'd probably say Jamie Murphy when he was at Halifax, like I say, because I'd sort of grown with him at Blackpool as well, and I had a good bond with him before the Halifax days, so it was nice to rekindle that. And I'd probably say Jamie Murphy.
What was it like playing under George Mulhall, obviously the manager, who sadly isn't with us nowadays, but in the 98 season, he managed Halifax?
Yeah, George was fantastic. I mean, God rest his soul. He was excellent. I mean, I've mentioned this before in another interview I've done with somebody else. If George Mulhall spoke, you listened. You know, you zipped your mouth. You listened to what he was saying because he spoke sense. He knew what he was talking about. And ultimately, it was him that got us through that season. It was him that got with the success. Him and Kieran, they were our gaffers. They brought the silverware. So he was different class, George.
Mm-hmm. What would you compare, obviously, the time of Chris Wilder like with George Mulhall?
That's a tricky one.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, Chris was more hands-on, sort of on the pitch, if you like, coaching and that.
Yeah.
George was more of a, for that season anyway, in the dressing room, being vocal. So let's say Chris was probably more hands-on the field, but similar tactics. They both like to play football.
Mm-hmm. We've got quite a long question here, so do bear with me.
Okay.
Peter Stoneman, you were manager at West Allotment Celtic a few years ago in the really competitive Northern League. How was that, and what would you like to manage again?
Yeah, I mean, I was at West Allotment a few seasons, player manager. I think I'm 48 now. I finished playing when I was 42, 43, I think. So I kept going for a long time. And it is a tough league, the Northern League. The likes of Whitley Bay, North Shields, South Shields obviously got promoted a couple of seasons ago from the Northern League. So yeah, it's a tough old league, and I enjoyed it, really enjoyed it. But like I say, unfortunately, due to my work commitments, I had to leave. And it's quite hard to be a football manager when you're working every other weekend. But never say never. I do miss it. So maybe one day I might get back involved again.
Favourite memory at Halifax?
Favourite memory at Halifax? Probably the parade around the town. I thought the open bus top parade. Yeah, maybe it's one promotion. That was good. The streets were just packed with Halifax people. That was a good memory.
Yeah. Moving on then, would you ever consider coming back to town in the future as a coach or a manager, perhaps, if the offer did come across?
If the offer came across, I would definitely, yeah. I mean, when I just finished playing at Bradford Park, I'm thinking Halifax will climb the way back through the leagues again. There was a half chance I could have joined again in one of those seasons, but I got a bad injury when I was playing, so unfortunately that didn't happen. But yeah, I mean, if the chance came and I did my badges and things like that, yeah, never say never.
I think a lot of Halifax fans would appreciate you to come back to the club because you were a real legend at town, especially in the 90s. I think we're on to the last question now. It's a bit of a quiz question, this, and it's a question that's always asked, and it's quite a hard question, so you do have to be on your game.
Right.
We've had so far. We've had 11 people doing it, and one person's failed. So there's a lot of pressure on you to not be in that category. But
oh dear,
can you name all the clubs you've played for in order?
In order?
Yeah.
All right. Let's try.
You play for too many clubs.
Well, I only played for 3 professional clubs, so that's easy. But if you want any,
you do youth career as well.
Say again, sorry.
You do youth career as well.
My youth career as well. All right. Yeah. I started with West Allotment Boys Club. They went to Cramlington Juniors Boys Club. From Cramlington Juniors to New Hartley Juniors. Yeah. Then I went to Blackpool, and then from Blackpool to Colchester on loan. Back to Blackpool, to Halifax. Then from Halifax, which obviously I was there 10 years, I went to Harrogate Town. From Harrogate Town, I went to Bradford Park Avenue. Bradford Park Avenue, I believe I went to Wakefield. Yeah. From Wakefield, I believe I went to Bridlington Town as player manager. After Bridlington Town is when I think I moved back to the northeast from West Allotment. I've probably missed a couple of clubs out, but I did try.
I think I do believe you've passed, but I will have to check that in a bit. So, yeah, I do think you've passed it. And that more or less wraps the interview up. Paul, I do really appreciate you coming on. I think a lot of the fans do as well. You were a real legend at Halifax Town, especially in the 98 season. There were a lot of memories as well. Good luck, and I do hope you do get back into management at some point.
Thank you very much, Luke. Thank you very much indeed.